Hello and welcome to another episode of Supercoach Insider. My name is Ben.
And I'm Chris.
And I'm Swizz.
Yay! I actually left a silence there just in case he got the cue. Welcome back. SC Insider 100. Find us on our socials, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Also all the audio platforms as well, Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, you name it, and the YouTube, Chris.
Yeah, on search for Supercoach Insider, that's our channel. And we're almost, we're almost at 1,000 subscribers, which means we can start charging ad revenue. Yes, let's go. I'm going to get $2 a week and I'm going to be proud of it.
When we get 1,000 followers, Chris said he's going to wear a Brisbane Lions jersey.
That was last year. I think there's already evidence of me wearing a Lions jersey, so... Ooh, it was an awkward time.
It was great. Swizz, we'll start with you, my man. How did you go on the weekend? We've just Chris and I have just done a little joint podcast on our team reveal, how we're traveling into round 15. So go check us out as well. Like, subscribe, get in amongst that business. Swizz, how'd you go on the weekend?
I got 1702. A couple of my trades didn't work out the way they should have, which was a bit disappointing. You guys are all very aware of. But yeah, I brought in Toby Green, which worked out fantastic.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Tomahawk, I knew it was going to be bad in the West and that, but when he was on 63 at three-quarter time, I thought, here we go. He'll kick a goal. He'll get his 90-odd and happy days. And then, of course, fucking shits the bed, gets injured, -6 in the last quarter. God, fuck me. So,
well, good news for you coming, Swizz. Good news for you. Hawkins always does well at the Gabba, mate, especially against Brisbane.
Yeah, Harris Sanders is spud, hey.
I still went up 45 spots, so I'm now up to 254th now. So, it's not the end of the world, but I would have much prefer, a Lockie Neal or somebody like that could have really set me up for the rest of the year, but, that's how it goes.
You should hashtag Supercoach Insider, but the Insider is a 1. The eyes are 1.
Hey, Swizz, what's your total score then for points?
That's a great question. 30,298. So 900 behind first, but on 600 points out of the top 10.
There's like 300 between first and 10th.
Yeah.
First actually has like a 60-point lead on the competition at the moment, which is a quite substantial lead.
Oh man, I'm 50 points behind you, Swizz, and I would have done that if I had have made like any better trades. Instead of Langford gone for a Hall or gone for a Toby Green easily. Oh, well, unlucky.
Yeah, nice. But if I had Neil in like you did and that...
and captain.
You weren't catching me, mate.
And captain.
It's been interesting because the top few teams have been pretty active on Twitter this year and that. So I know Supercoach Mama Emily, it's been interesting following her trades. Between I think it's Losky FC and down to Emily, there's only about 80, 90 points between them. So that race for the top 4 or 5, any of them can win it. And you never know if they if a couple of a lot of their teams are very similar. So if they cop any injuries, those other ones who might be 200 or 300 points behind, if they have some pods and that, anything could still happen. There's still plenty of footy left.
That's exactly why I brought in Parrish. I've got to have something different. I'm literally betting against Clary and Bond for the rest of the season, and I actually sweat every weekend because of it. So, yay!
I'm in the same boat. I traded out Clary. I don't have Bond and I don't have Parrish. So, they're great players and I don't wish injuries on anyone. But, a little concussion in the first quarter and then with a little 0 where they miss or under 25 and then they missed the following week would be perfect.
It's a tough game, isn't it? Everyone's being selfish. But, hey, look... it's an interesting competition, so I think it's going to hold us in good stead.
How many trades you got, Swizz?
Yeah, I'm down to 3, mate, but I've got 400k in the kitty, so it's risk it for the biscuit right now. But and I'm probably going to make 1 this week. So
you'll just bring in a ruck and then your team's done?
Yeah, just missing a ruck.
So then you'll have 2 trades with a full team, same as myself.
Yeah, I think everyone's pretty much. I mean, I'm luxury trading Impy, but you don't have Impy, do you?
I do have Impy.
Oh, okay, cool. So you're holding him and just crossing those fingers.
Yeah, at the moment, well, because of that 400k, like Lockie Jones is one I'm sure we'll talk about, but I've still got Highmore. There's a couple of guys that can go for my team, so I'm looking at a ruck, and then possibly even trying to get Dangerfield in there as he won't be F7, M9, he'll obviously be on field, but yeah, that would give me a lot of flexibility with him in my team.
Yeah, and then you can cover 2 lines as well.
But no trades.
Correct. Well, but if we're, yes, I don't have the trades, but then that bench player becomes the cover if it's a 1 week injury. That if it becomes more serious than that, then I'm stuffed. But we were just talking off air about the fact is, like, I've been in this position 3 out of the last 4 years where I finished top 500, but I've been top 50 going into about the last 4 or 5 weeks. And, you know, who cares if I finish 100th or 200th or 500th? You know, you want to finish top 10 or you want to, you know, high as possible. So I'm happy to make moves, which, you know, if they don't come off, they don't come off. But if they do, yeah, it gives me every chance to finish right up there.
I like it. Risk it for the biscuit.
Yeah, I say that all the time.
Oh, good. All right, so let's get into the depth of the pod. Obviously, we're looking at the rookies this week. Now, there is an extensive amount of rookies to go through. So I suppose we start with... now, obviously, a lot of people went early on a lot of rookies. Now, we're going to go through them all anyway, just so that everyone, you know, who doesn't have X, Y, or Z, they still get a bit of a run through. But obviously, the first one off the rank, I think we all agree that unless he gets named out of the blue, out of nowhere, Ned Reeves is pretty much a pass for everyone. That doesn't have him. You guys do have him though, right?
I have him. So that ship has sailed, and Ned Reeves, now you're probably actually better off looking at forward ruck swing with Marshall coming back. If you have room in your forward line, I think you're probably better off having a different option, because at least if you have an injured premium forward, you could still bring in a Marshall and hope, you know, to swing through later.
Question that I actually got asked during the week, and I actually went the opposite way here, so I want to get your read on it. So let's say both Edwards and Reeves are named. Who are you picking if you didn't have either?
Depends what you need and what, I guess, your ruck situation. If you didn't have the backup in Coleman Jones and that, then I think you need Reeves. Where if you've got Coleman Jones sitting there, yeah, you'd go Edwards for sure.
Yeah, I think Edwards, if Edwards is named and holding his spot with, you know, Shuey, etc., coming back into the side, I think that bodes well for him.
Yeah, it does. I'm definitely worried about Edwards this week, and they play Sunday, and we've got Thursday night games, so we'll have squads. It's going to be interesting. I'm worried.
And Luke Shuey played waffle last week, so I got through about 65% game time.
Oh, he's playing this week. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's definitely playing this week and back in. And we know, they were actually trying to manage him a bit in the Richmond game, but ended up playing that full last quarter. But, yeah, you'll be expecting him to play, you know, 85% now as well in that midfield.
Yep, and Kelly's coming back this week also. So you've got... they've also got Brad Shepherd coming back, Jeremy McGovern's coming back. So they're all listed as a test as well. If Edwards survives, there will be some that cut. I think that Foley's gone with Shepherd back. It'll be interesting if Harry Edwards also maintains his position there. So if he does maintain his spot, I'm inclined to say that his job security is good enough for now. The thing with bringing either of these guys in is really what you want is you want the guy that's going to be playing the most games for the rest of the season, because you probably only really you're not going to trade them out, are you? You're probably going to keep them as long for bench cover.
Well, you shouldn't be able to trade them out, really.
Well, unless you're playing for leagues, you still need some sort of cash out of nowhere, and you need quick cash gen.
Yeah. Or if you have 10 trades left or something, yeah, sure.
Yeah, for sure. But most people are looking for these guys, and that's why they're both questionable picks, in my opinion, is because I don't think that they're necessarily going to both play out the rest of the season. However, unfortunately, it doesn't look like many of the other guys that we have coming through also have good job security.
No, Edwards is projected to go up, 75,000 this week, 63 next week. So he could make an easy kind of 150K if he plays for a couple of rounds, and you hope for some luck.
Yeah, and I mean, scoring power is really ultimately what I'm looking at, because if he comes on from the bench, I'm obviously going to want someone who's going to be able to score decent, and not just knock out a 40 or a 50. They're actually going to be able to maybe go 70 or 80.
So Edwards is the pick of the midfielders, yes?
I
don't think so. No.
Well,
as in scoring potential or job security?
No, in terms of
both. Just both, because if West Coast were to say lose to the Dogs, they're in that position like Richmond. They've got to keep winning. They've got guys coming back. I think he definitely keeps his position right now. But that's that what if. What if he has one bad game here with those guys coming back? Yeah. Definitely gets pushed out of the midfield role. So that's the scoring potential. You could see him possibly being that fourth name on the bench, possibly the sub. in the future weeks. So then you've got that problem where I, at this time of the year, prefer players from lower ranked sides who they've got nothing else to play for, but then play the young fellas.
Yeah.
So
you're looking at what, Newcombe or
Newcombe? Yeah.
Well, I mean, Newcombe obviously is on the bubble this week, so let's chat about him. Now, the great thing about this is that we already know, based on Clarkson, that he's probably going to line up this week. Very least, he's going to be the sub. But Clarko's already said that he's going to get another opportunity against Melbourne. Is it Melbourne that they play this week? Who do they play this week?
Richmond, St Kilda. Who
are
you talking about? Hawthorn.
GWS.
GWS. And GWS, that game is an away game at the MCG.
Yeah, which is even better for Newcombe. And it's great for Impey as well for those that are looking at holding Impey because if they were going to play that up north, again, we've seen on the skinny grounds, it doesn't suit Impey's play style. Larger ground like the MCG, we should see some better scores from Impey as well. But I like John Newcombe, and I think most people already have him though. So I mean, if you don't have him, I wouldn't let that 23 scare you off.
No, and he frees up more cash to finish your side. I agree.
Yeah, and you got to remember as well who they're playing this week. Now they got pantsed last week, absolutely pantsed, and that was going to happen. But now if you look at GWS and their midfield, they're fairly one-paced. They are big in and under midfielders. Definitely suits his style of playmaking. He could get another 10 plus tackles this week. And so I do like the idea of playing John Newcombe or getting John Newcombe in, even if you don't have him, even regardless of that 23. So
you're saying GWS are more the in and under bulldozer type where he can tackle them, whereas Essendon wants to try and get on the outside.
Absolutely. All they do is just try and they're just quick out from the stoppages, get the ball on the outside and run.
Yep.
That's what they
do. To give you a bit of idea about Newcombe's ownership, so he's listed at 30%. 37% in Supercoach. However, of the top 1,000 teams, he's in 99% of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which makes sense. All the active players.
And freeing up cash, yeah.
Now, the other one is Kieran Briggs, who is also on the bubble after his second game last week, who was actually quite good, I thought. I'm considering him, but the only reason I'm considering him is because I have Madden, and it looks like I'm probably going to have Madden for the rest of the season. So he gives me flexibility to be able to, and look, I don't think, Madden's doesn't have good job security after another 3 weeks. So there's no guarantee that Madden's going to be able to come on field, but bringing in a defender forward, if it's not Briggs, potentially even Isaac Chugg, means I can potentially cover 2 lines. And I think Briggs will play again, but it'll be when Mummy's not playing. So Mummy probably comes back this week. They'll play Mummy and Flynn. Maybe he plays 2 games, and then Kieran Briggs will come in for 1 game, or so on and so forth. So
you're hoping that the 1 out of 3 rounds that he might play, if you need him, you're hoping to get kissed on the dick.
Well, it's better than having, say, an Isaac Chugg, right? Who's not going to play.
Yeah, for sure.
He's actually injured, so there's no way that he's going to be playing. There's an off chance that I just might need someone that week. And don't get me wrong, I'm not relying on him as my only bench cover, but basically between the forward lines, I'll have Bianco in the defense. I'll have CCJ in the forward line. But if for whatever reason I need 2 covering that week, that's when a Madden or a Kieran Briggs could come into it. So I could understand if you're looking for you've got Newcombe, you've got your midfield depth sorted. You don't need cash generation from Luke Edwards. Potentially Kieran Briggs comes into the equation. So there is a situation there where it applies.
Yeah,
and on that ownership, so Briggs is in 50% of that top 1,000, but I think it's a case of matching up with Madden. For someone like me who doesn't have Madden, doesn't make as much sense. Where Madden's still in 37% of that top 1,000, so I feel like it'd be interesting to see if the same people that own Madden are the ones that brought Briggs in, but for all the reasons you've talked about.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's interesting as well. I mean, I actually personally think that that Briggs was really, really good last week. I just know that they want Mummy because they've just performed so much better when he's playing. But Flynn's been really serviceable forward, and that's the only reason why he's been able to hold his spot. I don't think that they really love playing both Flynn and Briggs in the same team if they can avoid it. But obviously the situation at GWS, everyone's pretty well aware of. So outside of that, there's Bramble as well. Obviously, he's only had the one game. Right? Yeah, yep. So I mean, he's an opportunity to come in. And then I actually really did you guys watch the Hawks game? I thought he was really good.
I thought,
Yeah, he looked good.
yeah, he looked pretty good
Do
from
you
what I
think
saw.
he holds based on the fact that we've already heard Clarko say that Newcomb's playing, and obviously Warple, he comes back. He was only a 1 week suspension, wasn't it?
Yep.
So he comes back this week. So does he hold with Warple back in the side?
One of them might give way.
Well, if that's what I'm saying, so that's why
Well,
I think.
it comes down like the Hawks aren't playing for anything anymore, are they? So do they look at swapping other options around of that? It depends on how many kids they want out there on any given day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously they also had the Morrison injury, and he's out for an extended period of time. So it will depend on how Clarko wants to play it. I don't hate Bramble as an option. I just personally would just rather wait. Again, when do they play Sunday, don't they? Sunday 1:45 or similar or something?
So you won't know till Friday evening if
so
he's named.
the problem with I don't know about you guys, but my team, I have to make all my changes on the Thursday night, I believe, because so who's playing the first game? It's
Brisbane Geelong.
Yeah.
Tomorrow at a feature time of 7:32 apparently.
so
Yeah.
unfortunately,
What the fuck's up with that?
Yeah.
It was 7:20. Now I just got told today by Matt Grimstone that 7:32 because they don't want to go straight from home and away to the bounce. They got 2 minutes.
Yeah, you've got to have your ad break, bruh. Look, so with my team, if I want Grundy this week, I have to move Fullerton from the ruck line, which means that I've got to obviously do that before lockout in the first game. If I want Dangerfield, I've got to obviously make that trade as well, and to do that, I need cash to do it. So then I have to do all my trades.
Can we all
I'm kinda
agree?
screwed this week.
Can we all agree on one thing though? That at this point of the season, no matter if you're going for leagues or overall, you should have a real clear path on who you're targeting and how you're going to get there. Or at least have like a glimpse of, okay, I'm looking at these 2 or 3 people at this week or whatever, and try and have, you should surely be looking to finish your side. You should have a pretty clear idea.
I'd say anyone looking at playing overall either has one or potentially at most two
Two.
players that they don't have right now. One of them's probably Grundy because they've traded him out to trade him back in. So therefore, you probably only have one guy you're looking at.
And for leagues, they might have 2 or 3.
Well, the leagues is fucking weird.
It's a weird.
Man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Leagues is like,
Different
it's all
beast.
good, man. As long as I've got full premium by the finals, I'm good. Which is like totally cool.
You're
You
right.
do you, bro.
The only other one that's on the bubble, but he's more expensive, is Joel Amaki from Sydney,
Yep.
who's the ruck forward, who has actually looked really good. I've watched both Sydney games where he's played, and they've used him in that forward ruck role, and he's quite impressive. But that expensive price, I guess that it'd be probably only people who missed out on Coleman Jones and need a ruck forward swing and probably have that luxury trade, or they need some sort of protection. Maybe you've got Tracy there, but you need a swing and that. So I've heard a few people looking at him, but obviously not as much because of his price. Yeah.
Yep, I completely agree. There is some crazy people out there that are in a position as well where they need to trade CCJ. And what I would say to that is avoid trading him at all costs.
Yeah.
He's going to be valuable forward cover and valuable ruck cover, and as long as you can open up the pathway, the R3, he's going to be very useful for the rest of the season. I don't think, unless he gets injured, he's not going anywhere out of that side. Even with Tom Lynch and Nankervis back, I think they'll make room for him. So we've seen Hardwick do that in the past. He rewards players for good form. And they'll get something out of him.
I think the issue is though, if he's your only cashed up rookie, then
you kind of have to. You get forced into it, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'll throw this one for the last one about the rookies. There's another one on the bubble, but he likely won't be playing this week. But if you needed that ruck forward swing and you didn't have it, and you had Coleman Jones, you wanted to say move into the forward line, but you need a ruck to be swinging, would you bring in Max Lynch, especially if you're a Grundy owner, as a handcuff in case Grundy was to miss a game?
I've thought about that, and it's a potential option. I personally won't do it because I do have CCJ, but it's definitely an option and a viable one too, because at very least you guarantee yourself to cover one.
Yep.
So you've got a 50%. If you need that, you're covered. His scoring power is obviously not great. I mean, I've actually enjoyed watching him play. he just fades out of games because he's not fit enough. That's literally what happens if you watch his first and second quarters. He's very, very effective. He actually can score quite well. He's limiting to the opposition ruckman, and then he just fades late in games because you just can't match it for four quarters. And that's unfortunately him. But he's not the worst option, and I don't mind the idea of handcuffing him. So the other obviously ruck forward swing option is the North forward ruck that they got at the mid-season draft. Jacob Edwards. I've looked into doing that as well. I don't need it because I've got Fulton. He's already getting me a 0.
It's a bit conflicting, isn't it? Jacob Edwards. Are you team Edward or are you team Jacob?
I see what you did there.
He's team both.
Yeah, Twilight, the goat, whatever. I actually don't
The
mind,
goat.
I don't mind Twilight. It's actually not bad.
You're right.
And as I said, Isaac Chugg as well is the other option. And if you don't want Kieran Briggs or you need that extra 20K, you've got guys like Aiden Fife that can open up a defender forward swing for you. If you're looking for a forward mid swing, I
thought Fife was defender mid.
Well. Yeah, that's why. Did I not say that?
Defender forward.
Defender mid.
You're thinking of
So
Chugg.
there are options to downgrade to non-playing players if that's what you're looking at doing. But I would always try and suggest to get a playing player if you can, if it's available, or at least someone who looks like playing, which is always useful as well.
Okay.
All right, that covers the rookies, guys.
Yeah, here's what I'm thinking. We go defenders through to the forward line. We look at options that are probably discounted on players that you would target to finish your team. Now, obviously, if you are cashed up and the least of your issues, then yeah, you're going to spend $563,000 on a Mills or something, right? Yep. But most people at this time of year, they're looking for value. So we're going to start in defense first. The number one value target, 516K Whitfield. Showed a lot more promise on the weekend, so he's still discounted priced. He went up 12,000, but you could do a lot worse than having Whitfield in your team. And as of currently, when you're looking at Whitfield, 15% of sides, so a great little matchup for leagues and for overall as well.
Yeah, I like Whitfield. If I could have him in my team, I 100% would. I don't think he's necessarily a value selection. I think if you
not value, but that's probably the lower one. There's 7 more expensive defenders ahead of him.
I think if you can get to Mills, you probably go that option over Whitfield personally. But I completely understand the want for Whitfield. If I'm looking at players to bring in and that are just killing me, I'd be looking at Mills. I'd be looking at Ryan. However, I mean, with Ryan, you got Load coming back into that team. Hayden Young's 1 week away, so who knows what that's going to do to his scoring. I'd hate to be a Ryan owner, am I right?
With Whitfield and that's where I think we all have him. Do we all have him, boys?
No, I don't.
I do.
Oh, yeah?
Chris didn't want to jeopardize his Josh Kelly selections.
Yeah. The reason why I didn't bring him in is because if Whitfield goes down, first of all you got to deal with Whitfield, but then you've got to deal with Josh Kelly because he's going to have to be traded out too as he goes back to the forward line.
Well, right now in the top 1,000, he's in 824 sides.
Oh, so it's a pod. So great! I get to play Houston versus Whitfield every week.
So that's right. So that's the thing. If you're outside that and you're trying to make your way in, because if you're a league player who's just sitting outside, you might want to run him as that anti-pod to hopefully catch up. If you're a league player, big chance that a lot of people in your league are going to have him. So, yeah, I think he's a fantastic option. We know he can score really well, and it just showed that on the weekend. The kid just keeps getting ball. And I love him because he keeps just trying to find Josh Kelly, even if Kelly's in the wrong spot.
They love kicking it to each other.
Find him.
You know where they really like kicking into each other? In the forward line, 5 metres out, just right at the dead of the game to win the game. That's when they really like doing it, don't they?
Yeah, sure.
Just to drag that score over 100.
Yeah, sure.
There was one point in the game where Jelly had a Carlton player on him, and he had 2 free players went on, and he still tried to kick the ball to Jelly. It was amazing.
So good. God,
I need a Josh Kelly audio clip. That's what I need.
Yeah, you do.
I need that. It's going to have to be that way. Okay, so between 450 and sort of 500,000, there's probably a couple options. So Short and Daniel. Daniel's been playing a bit of midfield. Don't really jump out at those ones. Even Stephen May, they don't really jump out. I think the next big value pick is Jordan Ridley at 456K. He's 91,000 less than when he started. He is, 150,000 less than when he really peaked out at that 600 and odd before he got knocked out.
Yeah, I think, honestly, watching him this week, he had a role change, which is fantastic again. And it seems to me like they'd it was a planned thing. So he had that injury. They played him, they didn't want to tax him out over the next few weeks, but they still wanted to play him. They said, look, we'll get you to the bye. You have the week's rest, and then we'll go from there. And that's what it looked like. He came back. He basically took most of the kickouts. Redmond did still take a couple, but it was basically the Ridley show, which is great. And it looked back to the Ridley of the earlier few weeks. So I now am totally supporting a Ridley pick, as opposed to, I think a few weeks ago I said, no, don't bring him in. I won't bring him in. I'm now 100% on board with Ridley from now on.
And the other two value picks, I'll go Dan Houston, 439k. Been really good the last few weeks, averaging 99 for the last three. So in leagues or anything like that, he's still got a bit of a bung shoulder there. And Lacoche has actually been bopping up. He's averaging 100 over the last three, 91 over 5. So he's actually started to turn a corner. I think they're playing a bit more defence. And when they're a shit shambles show in Gold Coast at the moment, there's a lot of ball back there. So interesting one there for me.
I'll give you a couple other ones. One guy averaging 111 over the last three is Ben Mcavoy. Now that, Segal looks stuffed on the weekend, so he's been doing a bit more of the rucking role around the ground, and we know rucks do score very well. So, yeah, his last 3 weeks he's averaging 111. So that's definitely – and Maynard looks back in a bit of form, and Chris, you might know a bit more about him.
I'd stay away from Maynard because...
Stay away from him?
Yeah, well, just because Darcy Moore's gone down for the rest of the season, and we've already seen that he's been playing a little bit taller this season.
Yep.
And I think that they will continue to play him taller. And that is going to be good in some games and bad in other games. And so for that reason, I would be staying away from Maynard.
Do you think IQ might be freed up then a little bit in draft leagues? Or
there's going to be a lot of points going in that fucking Collingwood backline for the next few weeks without Darcy Moore, I can tell you that. But I
can't believe they're favourites, actually, I think, against Freo. Go figure.
Look, they are they're on a 3-game win streak, aren't they? Three game. Like they've played well. Like
the wheels are falling off, mate.
Look, who knows what's going to happen with Collingwood? We still don't know how Harvey's going to coach them. All accounts, it's probably going to be the exact same game plan, and they'll come out and they roll out next week and this weekend, and it's the exact same, minus Darcy Moore, who's their best player probably for the season. So don't get me wrong, it could be a pick that completely wins in your favour, but you have to make the decision without looking at it, and that's why I would say no. Like, if we had another 2 weeks to see what his role is going to be like, and then go, yep, okay, cool, he's going to be an outlet. Without Howe there and without Moore, I've just got no faith in the pick.
And I'll throw one last one at you here, because this guy's a massive pod and he just continues to score. What are your thoughts on Mark Blitzcase?
Blitzarves? Yeah.
He's a Mr. Fillet, really.
That's the problem, isn't it? So, I mean, look, he plays centre half back. He gets swung into the ruck. He plays in the wing. He's on the ball. I mean, all of which can potentially be good scoring from any individual week, which obviously means that he's got a fairly high floor, and his tank.
Because his last 5 he's averaging over 100. But yeah, he's got that 119, 116 in there. But we've actually seen the last 2 years after the bye, he's come home with a wet cell, and last year he threw in a car 120s, 130 on the run home, and his lowest score, I think, was he had 180, and the rest were all above 90. And then even the year before, I think he had a really good run after the bye too. So the Cats always this time of the year, seem to have a lot of home games and always seem to get cracking. And so it's just maybe a left field one if people want to be really different. Just throwing that one out there.
Well, it's interesting this week because they're actually playing Cameron, Torkins, Radagalia's on the bench, and obviously they've got Blitzarves. So obviously that means that they're going with the 2 ruckmen and Radagalia. So there's unlikely that Blitzarves will be playing forward of the ball, which means he's going to be playing behind the ball or on a wing. With Duncan out, does that mean that they switch him to a wing and they want to play that big body on the outside, or does it mean more Dangerfield's going to be the one to get that extra midfield time? We did see Duncan this year play a variety of roles, though. He's obviously played behind the ball, he's played on the ball, he's played on a wing, and they've thrown him around a bit. So that's just in one game.
they've named him in the ruck.
Have they? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, who would have thought Heppel would have been like the third best cheap cash cow for the year, averaging 96.8.
Didn't he got injured or didn't?
He's played 11, so he's played slightly unders. Yep.
Yeah, I think it was like a crucial game.
He's 500k.
But it was like early in the season when he got dropped, wasn't it? Or like he got injured.
Yeah. Let's move on to that midfield now, boys, and let's have a look at looking at some cheaper options. I'm going to start off with.
Should we just confirm first of all, if you were doing your last midfielder this week, is I think that's probably most important. So you're looking at, say, do you get a Bont or do you get an Oliver or do you get a Parish?
I think
if cash didn't matter, you'd go out and get Bont at least 700,000. If it was your last trade and or one of your last trades and you had the cash there, which is going to carry, it's useless, finishing with cash and not using it. So if that was, you'd go out and spend the cash and get Bont.
The only way cash doesn't matter is if you went and you brought in a Daniel super cheap, Stephen May real cheap, or you went these other, your Heaney's when they were, 350. If you jumped on those players, then yes, you should have to have the cash and be able to get an actual premium.
Well, technically, I've got 210k in the bank, and I could trade Impey to let's say Lions.
But then you still have a ruck.
Yeah, I've got enough cash to get a ruck as well.
Yeah, well, you've already got a ruck.
Yeah, but there's guys out there that have a little bit of cash in bank, and they're looking at a luxury trade.
But then at that point, it's like it's pick your poison. Choose a premium that's killing it. All of them are averaging 123 or more. So just choose your poison. It's not really a hard decision.
Well, yeah, so that's what I mean. So do you go for that or do you go for a value option and leave a bit of cash in bank for a potential injury trade later in the season?
I think people that are flexed with cash aren't really going, what should I choose out of my few options? I think we just kind of focus on, the bare-ass basement, those who are trying to pick players for 550k or less. I think the most expensive player people are probably trying to get in at this point in time is Lachie Neale, which is 575.
What will be interesting over the coming weeks is Lachie Neale versus Tuke Miller. Because Tuke Miller, I know he's obviously more expensive, but Swallow and who else is out of that midfield? Swallow and Weller are both out of that midfield. Now, those points are going somewhere.
Raul.
And Tuke is just...
Raul is the man.
Raul as well over the next coming weeks. You should see a spike in his scoring.
And on the Suns... This week they've got North Melbourne, and we saw what the Brisbane midfielders did. So Tuke's just going to smash that. Richmond, who we give a ton of points away to midfielders, we always do. So Tuke shouldn't have any problems there. And then it goes into the Giants, the Doggies, the D's. But with teams like that, and even the Lions, so they've got a tough run after that. But then teams like that, they're going to be 4 or 5 goals up very quickly against the Suns, a bit like Port was on the weekend, and they just let them go and do their thing because why would you bother putting attention when you're just going to win easy?
As the proud owner of Tuke Miller now in our keeper league, I think I'm going VC Neale into Tuke this week.
I really don't mind Tuke as someone that's can match it with the big dogs.
But he's 643k though.
Let's say you're top 100, top 500, whatever. You want to bring in a unique option. Everyone's got Bont. Everyone's got Clayton Oliver. Everyone's got McRae.
Parish is 9.2%. Tuke 7.0%.
Parish went up 3.2% this week.
Yeah.
But Ben, you're looking at like the overall and Supercoach. So I'm just trying to concentrate on sort of top 1,000 ownership because then that changes everything completely because. For those who are listening on, so we use a lot of the data that Supercoach data gives us, and that's so they track the top 500, the top 100, top 1,000 players and what they're doing. So Parish at the moment is only in 14% of teams of the top 1,000. So he's definitely a pod trying to catch up, 140, and then with Tuke Miller's the other one, and so I was scrolling through trying to find him there. And I think his ownership's even lower. I was trying to update on my phone here. No, Tuke's in 195 teams. But that's still quite low and a definite pod compared to some of the other players, the highly owned players out there.
Absolutely. And just before we go on to those value sections, like I know you want to move on to, is it worth... Now, I know you can't do this, Ben, but we can.
Mate, that's because I've already got all the good midfielders.
Josh Kelly has been... Josh Dunkley has been announced that he's targeting a round 18 return. Now, he has a break-even of 88. It's late in the season. It gets to round 18. Do you punt if you're in the top 1,000 and go, fuck it, I'm spending 634,000. I'm trading Toby Green to Dunkley, and I'm going to try and ride that 130 average for the rest of the season if I can.
Well, who do they play?
They've got, so if it's round 18, it's the Suns and Crows, so they may not even risk into there. But if they do, happy
Suns
days.
and Crows. Oh, wow.
Then they've got the D's, and then they end up with Essendon, Hawthorn, and then Port to finish.
I mean, I'm thinking maybe even like Taranto to Dunkley in round 18. Like
anyone to Dunkley would be good.
That's the sort of move that I'd be looking at.
It's also like smack bang on the eve of that's the first round of Supercoach finals, right?
Even
round 18?
19 generally, but even Impy to Dunkley if you've got the cash. If you have extra trades, one down, one up, and just live large.
I just think it's something to think about and to just keep in the back of your mind. If you've got 2 trades at that point in the season, and you're like, fuck it, and if like you're not going to be able to get him to a say an F7 spot like a.
No, you go Impy and CCJ, Dunkley in, what?
Yeah, like, dude, honestly, like, I'm not...
Well, it could be by then, because what's CCJ now, 241?
Yeah.
So let's just say, if you might do a trade this week and keep 100 cash spare or some cash spare. So if you could and if you had 2 trades there, Coleman Jones might be 350 by the time Dunkley gets in. You go down to that 102k rookie, then that's the time you bring in your 102k rookie that you don't care about, and that 250,000 on top of another rookie that you might have maxed out. Some might still have Highmore. I know some people have kept Jordan. There might be a few rookies still floating around in some people's team because they haven't been able to trade them or they've just kept them. Slap that on, you get Dunkley, and happy days for Supercoach finals.
Well, I know Dunkley's a forward, but Swizz, how many people in the top 1,000 have Zorko? How many were able to keep the Zorko? Would be interesting.
Yeah, you're giving him.
Do you really?
Yeah.
You're an asshole. But you got rid of Grundy though, so that's the cost.
Yeah, but Grundy's coming back. Maybe this week, maybe next week. I don't know. Depends how I feel on Danger.
All right, Zorko.
I'll be going Danger over Zorko.
Zorko's in 48% of the top 1,000.
I'm screwed then.
Dude, I don't have Bont or Oliver, man.
Yeah,
I'm
true.
completely fucked.
True.
Oh, good. All right. So value options. So number 1, what? Scott Pendlebury? Is that what we're going? Because I'm pretty sure he has to be the number 1 value option. Look, again, without knowledge of how Robert Harvey's going to coach, you'd have to say that he's going to be playing Scott Pendlebury as a midfielder. He obviously was moved around a little bit, moved forward, moved back, and part of that reason was he was working through an injury. He looks to be back on top of it. He played the best game I've seen him play in 2 years, not last weekend, the week before. So there's every chance that Scott Pendlebury is the one. 424k, I really don't mind it. Even if he could be a stepping stone. Like, what's his break even right now? Like, negative 29. You could get you to
although the break evens are a bit skewed this week, but yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Scott Pendlebury, Swizzy?
I'm not against it to that. Like, obviously, it's a fantastic break even. We know, he's a fantastic player. So, you could do a lot worse than having Pendles in your team. That would be a massive point of difference for your side.
For the rest of the year, though, 9 rounds left, knowing that obviously Real is coming back from an injury, hasn't looked great yet, right? There's only $800. There's only $800 difference, though. Would you go Pendles or Real for basically the same price?
I'd want 1 more week of Real.
Yeah, it's hard. Hey, Pendles had such a good round last game, but
it gets difficult with this because I don't like Collingwood Supercoach finals. They do have West Coast and Brisbane in there, and the Bombers could be fighting for that final spot, and even Port. They've got Port away, so teams might just let him go and wander around and do whatever. But those teams don't give up as many midfield points as some of the others, where the Gold Coast will have a much softer draw coming up. And we've already talked about this week and next. But they finish off their Supercoach finals. So they have Brisbane, which is obviously going to be a tough game. But they've got Carlton and Essendon in there. So especially Carlton on prelim week. If you're in the prelim and you've got Tuke or Rao against the Blues, the Blues could be shot by then. And I apologise to all the Carlton supporters because it must be tough, just year after year after year, 5-year plan, and it looks like they've got another one on the horizon.
That is fucking rich coming from a Richmond supporter, by the way.
I was going to say, are you talking about Carlton or Collingwood here with the 5-year plan talk?
Hey, mate, it was when was your last premiership, mate? Just checking, just because out of curiosity. I think I was there for it, wasn't I?
Hey, you know what you're also there for? The time Geelong flogged the fuck out of Collingwood when we were both sitting there last year. Remember that?
Yeah, that was really good. Shut up. Pierre, shut the fuck up.
Trying to pleasure you. Pleasure away, Richard.
So midfield options, and we're talking about more that, I'm looking probably under 550 is what we're kind of wanting to talk about because, people don't probably have the cash at the moment. Petrarch is still there at 546. And we know what a quality player he is. So he would probably be my number one option for the value. If you've got 550, go out and get Christian Petrarca. Great player to watch as well.
I still really don't mind Travis Boak.
Yeah. I know he wasn't great. But 514.
His draw is just like seriously. It's actually really good.
And 514K, he has a high ceiling as well. So you think coming towards finals, you're going to try and want to make sure all the bells and whistles are running properly.
Yep.
He's a real important cog to that team. I actually don't mind even Andrew Brayshaw. I know it's not great, but if you're scraping the barrel, I think
I love the 120 or 80.
It's great. It is one or the other. But with 5 hurting his shoulder, I think the load's going to have to go into him a little bit more. Depending on what their draw sort of looks like, I don't mind
surely
him.
5 plays forward if he plays this week.
Yeah, he will be. Absolutely. He has to be playing forward. There's no way you're going to risk that shoulder there.
Viney's due back this week, so that could impact. Definitely, I think it impacts James Jordan if you're still running with James Jordan. And Stephen Cornelio is only 1 week away as well. So just keep an eye on that and how his role comes into it. He's only at 477K too. So.
And I think Taylor Adams, 470K, probably due back this week. He's dropped 118,000. So it's a couple to watch there for draft leagues anyway.
I'll throw in my super pod too because that's what I seem to be doing at the moment.
Menangola?
But I was actually going to say Jai Simpkin.
Oh, yeah, he's on a good run.
Yeah, yep.
He's gone 164, he had a 54, 108, 128, 136. It looks like they've just handed him the keys to the midfield. Cunnington's giving him the chop out too. And they've got some soft games naturally being down the bottom. Suns, Essendon, Carlton. We've talked about Richmond's midfield, Sydney and Adelaide. So, there's no reason why Simpkin can't continue this form.
Yeah, he's, 124 over the last 3, 118 over the last 5. So I don't mind that at all either. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of options out there, left field ones, especially if you're playing for league play. Like I tell you what, there's some good value options coming through.
And how good though being able to, if you can only afford 525K, how good being able to get Rowell or like a Pendlebury or someone like Basement, knowing that they could hopefully average you 100 odd.
Actually decent options
compared to forward and defense though. 424 gives you like fuck all, whereas in midfield it's like, hey, I'll get this guy with a pretty big ceiling.
Yeah.
And that's why I like as we talked about Boak, and I like someone like Simpson and that, because if you're running against Font or, Parrish who can go big on the weekend, on any given weekend, well, somebody like Simpson can go do the same for 100K cheaper, and it'd be nothing worse more frustrating for your opponent, comes out, sees Bont score 130, feeling good, and then you have Simpkin and comes out and scores 130 as well. And like, what the fuck? Like, I've paid all this money for Bont. Players that can go big is what you need in a league to help you win those matches.
Absolutely agree. And look, Simpkin really, his only issue in Supercoach is the fact that his disposal's off. So, like at any time, if he has a good disposal day, he scores well. And that's as simple as that, because he can get the pill, he tackles, he does everything else that's really important in Supercoach. It's just his disposal efficiency. So if he can nail that, he will be a very good Supercoach pick in future years and potentially even this year. So, cool. Moving on to the forwards.
Yeah, forward line. Let's just have a look. We're going from break evens anyway. So those who have pretty good sort of few rounds here. So I'm going to start with Toby Green. All right, 471K, break even of 45. So he is projected to go up even more. He's been doing really well lately. The last few rounds in particular, he has gone a 103 and a 125. So he's not bad for a 471K. Dustin Martin, same sort of price point. He's 472K. So I think if you don't have him already, break even of 62. These are probably real 2 easy picks that you might consider.
Yeah, I think the top 6 to 8 defenders kind of pick themselves. You still got Nick Hine there. He's proved that he can be really, really damaging, and his Supercoach score quite well. If you still don't have Aaron Hall, just get Aaron Hall. I think is that the easiest advice you could say?
Look, I think it's still a bit questionable, but how good his second half was, they are still looking for him. So I think it was a little bit reassuring for those who had him.
They don't even need to look for him. He's just everywhere. Literally, like, is
Yeah,
there a
he's a-
ball? I'm
he's
gonna chase after it.
He's a pest, is what it is.
I'm gonna yell. I'm gonna scream at you until you give me the fucking ball. That's what he does. He literally bullies them into continually feeding the ball to him.
A nice little point of difference. Zach Bailey, I know he's not averaging that great, but he has a low break even. He's got a 3-round average of 101 and a 5-round of 96. So for draft leagues, sometimes he's for league competition, sometimes an absolute pain in the ass. Brisbane do have a pretty good fixture coming up as well. And I actually just wanted to use that one because...
There's the tackle. Did he handball? No! That's as clean a tackle as you can get for a free kick.
And we're playing Geelong too tomorrow night, so that's why it's a double whammy.
Ben, I really wish you didn't bring Zach Bailey up because I didn't talk about him in the show last week, but I had my little list of forwards I was looking at bringing in. And I had Hawkins number 1, Toby Green, and then I had Zach Bailey as my third. And I talked myself out of Zach Bailey because I was like, it's okay. North. I think I'm getting... I know, as in Zach Bailey. I was like, I'm talking myself out of him because I'm like, I'm getting biased just because it's North this week. But it's not... He can't play North every week. And then to watch him go 133 and then Hawkins do 57, absolutely pulling my hair out.
Yeah, makes sense. Look, obviously there are people that need to make some trades, force trades this week from the forward line as well. Some people brought in Robbie Gray. I looked at Robbie Gray. He was playing a lot more midfield time the last few weeks.
Got injured too, unlucky.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how that impacts them moving forward because I think what they did is they replaced Dan Houston's midfield minutes with Robbie Gray and let Houston play out of the back line for the pure reason that he's obviously trying to get over that AC joint injury that he's trying to nurse through the season. So does that mean that they move Houston back into the midfield
or Rosie in maybe? Well, Rosie's kicked 10 goals over the last couple of weeks. Good news is Dersma's coming back soon. So I think
and they've got Fantasia coming back, I think, next week.
I think that'll help them a little bit.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how Port do manage their mid rotations. I still think the clear, obviously Dangerfield, he's a pod right now. I think he's only 9% of sides. Shea Bolton is absolutely fantastic pick. Both of these guys are just over 500k.
Yeah, they're top two for sure. 515k for Dangerfield, 524 for Bolton. Split hairs, to be honest. Like, I know I picked Dangerfield first and I'm going Bolton this week, but I think both of those have real potential to tear up the competition in the back end of the year.
Yeah, and
Swizz, what do you reckon? I know you're a Richmond fan.
Yeah,
are you splitting? Are you splitting hairs or?
Yeah, splitting hairs between Bolton and Danger or that. I'd probably go Danger ahead of him, but there's no reason why Bolton isn't a good pick. So that we know he's playing midfield and he's scoring well, and Richmond have apparently to champion data have the softest draw on the run home, the way it should be for the reigning premiers. So.
Jeez, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the last 9 at the MCG. That seems a bit weird, doesn't it?
No, that sounds about right.
Yeah, and the ones away are against Gold Coast.
Yeah, at Metricon, Fremantle at Optus, and GWS. Yep. I think that's a great draw, but you're playing Saints, Gold Coast, Collingwood, Brisbane, Geelong, so they're the harder ones. Then Fremantle, North, GWS, and Hawks. Fuck me.
It's part of the reason why I didn't want to trade Jaden Short. I know a lot of people traded Jaden Short to Whitfield, and I was just like, yeah. I looked at his draw, and I'm like, I'm going to hate every week that he gets a ton. Every single week.
Yep. And he'll go big too. You know, a 140 or 150 is coming with Short too, because he just throws out these obscene games where he just kicks everything.
We call it the preseason shorty.
Yeah.
Oh man, if he busts out that, I would just. Oh,
you mean also the Paddy Dow?
Wow.
I think they had something today out of career games over 25 possessions, and Dow was like 0% of career games with 25 possessions. And I was like, fuck, I love the preseason hype.
Oh, don't make me laugh like that. I love a good Paddy Dow sledge. There's nothing better than watching Spuds get games every week and then wondering why you're getting fired. It's the greatest gift that Carlton Football Club have given us this season is Paddy Dow.
Okay, so we got Bolton and Dangerfield probably top two, and most people are looking at forward line options here. Zorko, I think if you don't have him or you got rid of him, I think you're kind of just waiting for that price to drop. I don't think he's worth 603k, boys. What do you think?
No chance he's worth 603k if you don't have him.
I think Bolton probably out averages Zorko and he's 80,000 less.
I mean, I'd rather keep Impey and just trade him to Dunkley in 4 weeks.
Yeah, or true. Yeah, for sure. Don't even, you might as well target Dunkley in a few weeks instead of Zorko. Outside of that, I think Ryan Marshall's another one.
What about Kmart Dusty?
Stringer? You talking about Stringer or Degoe?
Yeah, Stringer to go. Wow.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the joke is. But let's touch on Ryan Marshall. Tips are he's back this week. Again, you say a high break, even 138, but when he is playing ruck minutes, he notoriously scores well when he's not getting injured. So I think he's someone you could look at to complement your side. Langford, I think the ship sailed. Like, he's okay, but fuck me, don't get on board. I have him, so he's unblessed.
He dropped out of his CBA rotations with Stringer coming back, and I warned.
Fuck you.
It's one thing I said. I said, that they haven't done? They haven't really, because Stringer, he got injured, didn't he? I think he was out for a few weeks or for whatever reason. And they hadn't put him back as that centre bounce mid. I'm like, they actually haven't tried Stringer back in that centre bounce mid role. He, of course, gets him the week that everyone brings him in. And you've got Shield coming back in 1 to 2 now.
You know what I can do? I can go Langford to Ryan Marshall. Ooh,
dude, you've got 2 trades.
I'm kidding, Chris. Risk it for the biscuits. I'm just kidding.
I think he's got a floor of 80 anyway. Like, let's be fair.
Yeah, look, who knows? Apart from that, let's go scraping down the bottom of the barrel here. Speaking of bottom of the barrel, side bottom.
He's done.
Yeah, don't do it.
He potentially could retire at the end of the season. I think they might keep him on just purely for like a mentorship sort of thing. So,
any little
nuggets
there, Swizz?
No, I think we've covered most of those guys and that. I don't think I had another left field pod off the top of my head.
No, Hind, I think, is the only one that's done well.
Hind's definitely worth talking about because he's one. But yeah, Zach Bailey was mine, and we've already covered him. So I'm happy with all them.
Yeah, easy. Captains, boys. I know
do you want to talk about? Do you want to mention Rux quickly?
Fuck Rux.
No, he just wants to talk about Sean Darcy for 3 minutes.
No, we're not talking about Sean Darcy, or are we, Swizz? Is this where you're?
I am serious because nobody in the top 100 owns him, and I'm seriously considering doing him. He's 80,000 cheaper than Grundy, and fortunately, I would have loved Grundy out this week because I would have loved Darcy up against Max Lynch. But Darcy's last few games, his whole season, apart from those first 2 games he came in, but even those since playing the Lions, 114, 146, 112, 112, 140. I'm very tempted on running Sean Darcy for the rest of the year.
You missed the 74 before that and the 83 in between.
I started from after the 74.
I mean, look, if I was to put 2 scores side by side, one of them's Grundy and one of them's Darcy, Grundy still kills him in every single part of it. So I think it's more of a negative pod than a positive one. Just saying.
Possibly, but
fuck it. Why don't you just get Tom English as well, knowing that? Hey, I'll put Tom English in the ruck, knowing that he'll be a forward next year.
Tim English, yeah.
Next season.
Oh, meanwhile, can we
look,
quickly?
it's not the worst idea.
Can we quickly say how blessed we're going to be next year? Hopefully, Dangerfield's still forward. He
will be.
Yeah. So Fife forward, Marshall will be forward, English will be forward. What a fucking compliment of forward lines. How good's that though? I'm literally looking at the forward line next year, going, "Thank God."
Yeah, $3 million of your salary cap on your forward line.
Yeah, who cares?
It's not a good time,
mate. When you go on Patrick Cripps at M1, you can do anything.
Things that aren't happening next season. Me having Patrick Cripps at all.
Me having Josh Kelly at all.
Oh, good luck with that. All right, moving on to captains. Swizz, tell us what your plan is this week, mate.
Tell us the story.
Yeah, the VC is just a lock for me. Jack Steele versus the Tigers.
Yep.
Why is that? You reckon they're just tearing up?
Oh, it's because we just leak points to the midfield. It's just what we do. And Jack Steele, but loves tackling. He's in top form at the moment. I'm pretty sure he goes. Well, the last time I think he only scored a 114 versus us, that was the last year's game. I can't remember what he scored earlier in the year, but he
didn't go that good.
So he didn't go that well, but yeah. I think but at the same time, I still think he's going to get enough of the ball and he's a tackling machine. So he's my lock as my VC. I don't really want anybody in the Geelong Brisbane game. And then captain at the moment, tossing up a couple ideas, but I do like Maxi Gawn versus Draper on Saturday night.
Yeah, that's literally how I'm looking, mainly because I don't have Oliver. But also for those out there who have him, Toop Miller this week versus North is like an absolute Monty on Saturday morning. And then you've got a lot of options for the captaincy. So if you don't like Steele and you've got Took, I'd be, especially if you're in the top 1,000, you're one of those few that have him. Oh, Took this week would be a huge pod. And could really, really go places. So, just North leaking that many points to midfielders. But yeah, I agree. I like Gawn. I don't love Gawn. Like, he's going to be a safe backup, but I don't think he's going to go huge. Draper's proved to be very serviceable and quite a good ruckman. If you had Oliver, that's who I'd be going, but I don't have Oliver.
I think I might go Steele into Oliver. Otherwise, maybe Neil into Oliver. We'll see. I do like Gawn, but...
The other one, if it's unfortunate that, actually no, because Gawn's playing the Saturday night, but the North game versus Suns, as we already talked about Took Miller, but Aaron Hall or Zeeble is a sneaky VC, just against the Suns, because both those teams are just leaking points. So definitely both of them could get off the chain and score. We've seen Hall go 140 this year, and Zeeble even on the weekend went 134. So there's no reason why both of them couldn't pump out another 130.
I think tipping's real hard this week too, boys. I know Brisbane's favourites against Geelong, but again, essentially, I think that's a very coin flip. Geelong play us slow. We play so shit against Geelong. They make us play slow, and then we have no run, and then we lose. And then North and Gold Coast, I think Gold Coast have been absolutely up against the wall. North down in Tassie, you'd probably pick them up. Otherwise, Fremantle, Collingwood, I think is 50-50 as well. I don't know how Pie's a favourite.
Just because it's at home.
Because that's at home.
Yeah, and same as West Coast and Dogs.
At home.
And Carlton. Oh, Carlton the favourites. There you go.
Look, and of course, you got to remember, Collingwood is still on a win streak.
Yeah, that tide's turning. I'd put money on 222 for Freo any day of the week.
$1.70 favourites. When was the last time Collingwood were $1.70 favourites?
I have no idea.
All right.
That wraps us up.
Thank you very much, guys. And I'm sure that you guys will have a great Supercoach week fielding 22 players this week. So that'll be good.
Oh, how good is it?
Yeah.
And before I go, guys, and that, I'm just going to give two quick shout-outs. Shout-out to my lovely wife and my mum. Both happy birthdays to both of them. And I hope they've had lovely days.
Oh, happy birthday to the lovely wife of
the lady
Mrs. Swizz.
Swife Wiz? I don't know. Anyway, we'll catch you next time.
See you guys. Bye.
Cheers.